I think it's fair to say the Orks have some of the most wild and interesting models in any of the 40k factions. They've always been the goofiest when it comes to their lore and just the look of their models. So this week I wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive into the history of the Ork models in Warhammer 40k and show you guys the evolution of some of their most iconic models. I want to start with one of the most well-known Ork models in the game, and that would undoubtedly be Ghazghkull. This model came out in 2020 in 8th edition. I love seeing this model on the table. He's basically a walking dreadnought on his own, and his action pose is super great. I love the bullet shells pouring out of his gun. Some people probably already know this, but this is not the first time we've seen Ghazghkull in plastic. Before the 2020 model, we had a Ghazghkull from 2000. I think it's really interesting how the new model is really taking a lot of inspiration from this old one. The weapons and the shape of it really is all the same. I'd say everything is just bigger on the new model. He still has the same claw, he still has the same kind of guns, and he still has the similar crazy looking jaw piece in this model. But still, this isn't even the first Ghazghkull we've seen in plastic, because the first one came out in 1992, and it's this model here. Ghazghkull looks very, very different here. I'm assuming that Ghazghkull is the big guy on the right and not the little grot on the left. This is the first model released for Ghazghkull, and it's significantly different. Although I will say the horns are still there in a lot of this model, which is something that they've carried over in the new stuff, which I find super cool. The next model I want to look at is the Weirdboy. This one came out in 2008. The Weirdboys always intrigued me as they're kind of the orc shamans of the group, and any model that comes with a mini-me is good in my book. So the little guy hanging on the side there I think is great. This Weirdboy is from 1994 and is definitely different. He's got a whole jester costume going on, covered in bells, and he's got those weird moons on the top of his pole. These other Weirdboys are from 1990. Again, we see kind of a jester looking costume for this guy. I think this was supposed to be the idea for the Weirdboys before they became more like witches or wizards. But this is the kind of Weirdboy I think of when I hear the name. I think this guy looks perfect. He's got a bit of a mix between the kind of voodoo type of Weirdboy and also the jester kind of clown type of Weirdboy. Also, I think he's wearing glasses, which is fantastic. I don't think I've seen orcs wear glasses. Next, I want to look at the Kommandos. These are some of my favorite current orc models. These came out in the Kill Team box in 2021. What I love here is that each of the Kommandos has so much personality, and they're all different from each other. These Kommandos came out in 2010 and actually came out of Forge World. I believe they're just a conversion kit that you can put on top of your regular Ork Boys, so I'm not really sure if these even count as their own set. These, however, definitely count as their own, as these came out in 2006. These are extremely classic, and you can see how the 2021 version took a lot of inspiration from these. And these are the Kommandos from 1994. I think their axes look great, but besides that, they aren't doing a lot to pull off the Kommando look, personally. Still, this is where they started, so I think it's pretty cool. And this blurry image is Kommandos in the epic format of Warhammer. There's not a lot of detail here, but it's kind of interesting how the shape of these guys looks a lot similar to the shape of the 1994 Kommandos. Next up, I want to look at the iconic Deff Dread. This one came out in 2010 and still looks great in my opinion. This is a super iconic model. I love how the shape of it is very similar to the Imperium Dreadnoughts, but entirely on its own orc styling. You can tell it's just thrown together with scrap pieces and whatever mechanics they can get their hands on. Before that, we had the 1999 Deff Dread, which looks more like a Killacan to me. I still like the idea of what it's going for here, but I think the previous version just really took it up a notch. I mean, this thing is basically holding a pair of scissors and a pizza slicer. This is the 1994. The paint scheme here isn't really impressive though. I mean, I can't imagine how difficult it would be to paint those little black and white checkers on this model. And this is the 1988 Dreadnought. This goes way back. This guy's just a little ball with legs. I think it's awesome. The paint scheme it has on it is great also. They painted that little mouth on there. Fantastic. This is another one from 1988. I love the crab claws it has here and the little grot sticking his head out. Honorable mention, of course, to the cardboard version of the Ork Dreadnought. One of my favorite things about the Ork army is all of the grot vehicles, like these Grot Tanks. If you haven't seen these in person, these things are really tiny. The Grot Tanks and the Grot Mega Tank are both from 2010, but I think they still hold up. This has always been one of my personal favorite Ork vehicles. The Grot Bomb Launcher from 2001 is pretty great also. This is a super blurry image, but it looks like a grot in a rocket-propelled aircraft getting launched off of a motorcycle. Fantastic. These little rebel grots are from 1997. I think it's really cool. They just have basic revolvers and machetes. I mean, these guys look like the most expendable unit maybe in the entire game. The Ork Boyz are obviously the backbone of any good orc army, and these ones came out in 2021. I think they look great. I don't think they stand out too much, but I don't think they're supposed to. They're supposed to be the most basic infantry unit you can get your hands on for the orcs. The previous models were from 2005 and have a lot of the same style that the new ones have. They definitely changed the face shape of the orcs in general though, because these guys look a lot dumber. Before that, we had Ork Boyz from 1998. This image showing you all their different weapon options. I do like the look of these orcs, especially the guy on the right with his mouth wide open. I think the only issue is they're a little bit skinny. And these awesome Ork Boyz are from 1990. These ones are great. I think they really capture the orc mischievous kind of nature, as half of these models have a huge smile on their face. These ones also have the size of the orcs downright, unlike the last models which looked like they must have been malnourished or something. I wanted to look at some really cool orc vehicles, specifically anything wagon related. This one came out in 2018 along with a lot of other orc vehicles, and I really like these. They have so much detail. Each vehicle tells its own story really. Before 2018 we had this battle wagon from 2010. This one's kitted out with the biggest gun I think I've ever seen for the orc army, and this one's unpainted but fitted with something a little more reasonable for the orcs. There's also this pretty classic and iconic battle wagon from 2009. This is the one I think of when I think of the battle wagon. Full of sharp edges, full of guns, and most likely full of orcs. There's also the gun wagon variant, and don't forget about the bone breaker option where you turn it into basically a steamroller. There's also the war truck from 2008. This one is still used a lot. I didn't know it was so old. 2008's a long time ago. But I would say this thing holds up pretty well. I think it still looks pretty good. The looted wagon from 2002 is hilarious because it is obviously just a rhino with a couple of orc bits thrown on there. Don't think this counts as its own model, but definitely had to mention it. This war truck from 1998 is hilarious. I don't even know where an engine could fit on this thing. It's like a Lego car, and some kid just threw flames on it, and because of that, the orcs were able to make it go as fast as possible. This version of it has a wrecking ball, so bonus points for that, I guess. This war buggy is also from 1998. Gotta love some rocket pods. And this battle wagon is from 1990. This is a crazy one. I don't think the orcs have anything like this anymore. Full of so much color, and I think the wheels are extremely unique. The banners are hilarious. I don't think orcs really raise the banners much anymore. But all in all, this is a pretty intimidating model, especially for 1990. And here is the 1988 war buggy. Only holds 2 boys, but still looks pretty cool. Basically a lawnmower with a gun on it, but for the orcs, that's all you need. I want to do some honorable mentions next, looking at the War Track Scorcha from 1989. This thing is great. It's a tracked motorcycle with a flamethrower and its own fuel tank on the back. And for 89, it has a lot going on. That little Grot mechanic in the back doing his thing. There's a Grot hiding in the flamethrower. This one's really good. Here's another War Track Scorcha from 1997. I think this one's a bit of a downgrade. I'm glad they re-released the model because, again, I think it's so cool, but I think they took away a lot of its character. But what happened to these war tracks? We need these things back. These were great. Another one from 1997. The Killicans are an absolute classic. The versions I'm familiar with are from 2010. But they have a lot of the same charm from the 1999 version. Well, I definitely missed some stuff. Orcs have an insanely large line of models dating all the way back to the beginnings of Warhammer 40k. Let me know what I missed out in the comments below, and go check out Lexicanum for yourself to go see the history of the models you're looking for. This is a great website to check out any of the models from any of the armies from Warhammer 40k. Please like and subscribe if you want more content like this, and thanks a lot for watching. Take care.